even though much better to be in Eretz Yisrael, as always. And today we are catching up for for the 12th day of the month of Kislev. Hashem Baruch. Later we'll catch up for today's Amud. But we are up to Daf Samach Tes Amud Aleph. We left off at the end of Daf Samach Ches Amud Beis at the bottom of the page. The Gemara told us 4 lines up from where the lines get wide that Rosh Hashanah would make a party every 30 days, meaning he would be Messiah his limud every 30 days, it seems. He would do Chazara. And then V'talav V'kai Ba'avir the Darshan would stand at the side of the doorway, V'amar, and he would say, Chadai nafshay, my soul is happy, my soul is happy. Lach karei, lach tenai. I'm learning for you, and I'm reading for you. I'm reading Torah for you, and I'm learning Mishnahs for you. Pashtus means that he would finish Torah Shebechsav and Torah Shebal Peh, meaning he would finish all of Chumash and all of Mishnah. That's every 30 days. That was his seder. But then the Gemara challenges this, and this is where we got up to. Is that really true? Meaning, who benefits or what benefits as a result of a person learning Torah? It seems to be that he's saying that his neshama is having a good time here. He says, is that really true? If not for the sake of people learning Torah, then heaven and earth wouldn't be sticking around. So what do you mean? I'm doing this for you, my neshama. The whole world is benefiting. As the pasuk says, if not for my bris, the Torah, my covenant with the Torah that you're learning day and night, I would not have put the laws of heaven and earth in place. Says the Gemara, what's the answer? Ikara at the beginning, ki avid inish. When a person starts off in the learning, he does it for himself. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't benefit everybody else. But Pashtus is that a person feels that the great benefit is for themselves. You also have to ask the question, Rosh Hashanah seems to have been an accomplished Talmud Chacham at this point in time, and yet the Gemara still says that he is at the beginning of his limud. Nevertheless, Amar Ba'ashi, getting back to the conversation that we were having in the Mishnah between Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yeshua, and then Rabbi Kiva, Amar Rav Ashi says as follows: Ulamaydaka Amar Rabbi Eliezer, that which Rabbi Eliezer had said, Nami Yom Tov Rishus, that Yom Tov is Rishus, that there's no mitzvah of Simcha on Yom Tov, and therefore there is nothing to learn from with regards to the Torah obligates you to eat meat and drink wine and be merry on Yom Tov. He held that was not a chiyuv, and then Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yeshua used that to say, and therefore, since I know that I can cook, but I can't go out and chop down a tree in order to make a fire, that would be, or even in Sunnah D'Rabbanan, in order to be able to eat in Yom Tov, meaning only the malacha of cooking would be permissible. So we see that the Rabbanans for a hechsher mitzvah are not permissible, and that would be the machlokes that we had in the Mishnah with regards to doing Isurim D'Rabbanan as the supporting act to the bringing of the Korban Pesach, which Rabbi Eliezer said was mutar, and Rabbi Yeshua said was aser. So back into the conversation. So says Rav Ashi, that which Rabbi Eliezer had said, that Yom Tov Nami Rishus, the Kamar Rabbi Eliezer Nami Yom Tov Rishus, even according to Rabbi Eliezer, it says that Yom Tov is Rishus, there's no mitzvah to go and have a Suda. Isli Pircha, you still have the same problem for Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer still is going to be bothered, is going to be challenged by the following argument. My Yom Tov Shehitah B'Malacha Shel Rishus, Yom Tov, which you are allowed to do malacha for a non-mitzvah, meaning, according to Rabbi Eliezer, you're not allowed to do malacha. You are allowed to do malacha to cook if you wanted to cook in order to be able to eat. So even Rabbi Eliezer would agree that there's no shvus, that there's no rabbinical prohibition that is permissible for this permitted act that is not a mitzvah. So says the Gemara Shabbos with regards to Shabbos, ela malacha shel mitzvah. On Shabbos, where the only permissibility is to shech the Korban Pesach, meaning for the sake of the mitzvah, you can shech the Korban Pesach. Is it not logical that there would be no permissibility to violate any Isserim Darabanan? Meaning, according to you, Rabbi Eliezer, you hold that an Isser that the eating on Yom Tov is not a mitzvah daraisa, but you still agree that you'd be allowed to cook, and in that case, you for sure are not allowed to do any Yisurim Darabanan. Shabbos, where you are only ever allowed to do the thing of a mitzvah, not a rishus. And it does not make sense that you wouldn't be able to do an Isur Darabanan. Turning over to Samach Aleph at the top of the page, how does the Gemara answer? Rabbi Eliezer, according to Rabbi Eliezer, Shvus the mitzvah adifnei. No, since Rabbi Eliezer, you're comparing apples to oranges here. This is not the same thing. Why? Because you're trying to compare the permissibility of a shvus, or the isur of a shvus in a case of a rishus, to the permissibility of a shvus in the case of a mitzvah. I think that if there's a mitzvah, so then all bets are off. If there's a mitzvah, then you are allowed to violate the shvus. That the Chacham, translation, the Chacham never asked doing things in support of doing a mitzvah that the Torah says you need to do. Says the Gemara as follows: Tanya, Brisa says, Amar Rabbi Eliezer, says Rabbi Eliezer, Mali, this is his argument. Umali im dach mechshir mitzvah shel achar shchitas Shabbos. And the fact that we violate mitzvahs, that we violate Shabbos for the sake of a of shchita, and then we thereafter are going to violate an issur d'Rabbanan of cleaning out the stomach of the animal. That's michoy the kravav, cleaning out the inlets of the animal. So this avele mitzvah, once the mitzvah has already been performed. Lo yidchem achshir mitzvah shelifnei shchitas Shabbos. Says, I don't understand. Why wouldn't we permit you to be able to violate an issur d'Rabbanan in advance of doing the mitzvah, which is allowed to be in violation of Shabbos? Meaning, Rabbi Eliezer is saying the following argument. The Mishnah, everybody agrees, you, Rabbi Yeshua, all of the Chachamim agree that Micha Kravav is mutter, and that's an Isur d'Rabbanan, and that you're allowed to do that in order to ensure that your mitzvah worked out well. So if you can do that after, then why can't you do it before? Why wouldn't you be allowed to violate the Din d'Rabbanan before? Meaning, why would the Chachamim ask that before, and we should say that that's mutter? Amal Rabbi Akiva, says Rabbi Akiva to Rabbi Eliezer, the Mali in Dach Mashur Mitzvah Shlachah Shchita Shabbos, Shari Dachta Shchita Shabbos. You want to know why it is that the Mashur Mitzvah that come after the Shchita can violate Shabbos? Because you've already violated Shabbos for the sake of the mitzvah. Meaning, once you've done the Shchita, so you see that once the Shchita is done, so the things that you need in order to make sure that worked out, that you're allowed to do. So it's the Tomer Yidchem Mashur Mitzvah Shlifnei Shchita Shabbos. Would you say that things that violate Shabbos should be able to be done beforehand as well? Meaning, even before the shchita has happened, even before Shabbos has been violated with the thing that it's supposed to be violated for. Davar acher, and then another rationale. Shema yimtza zevach pasol, and this is something scary. What happens if you would go and you would violate a whole bunch of isurim, and then you would shech this animal, and then something would happen, and then it would be puzzle. It'd be puzzle. The korban would be puzzle. I'm afraid it would turn out lemafreya retroactively that you have violated Shabbos. Says Rabbi Eliezer back to Rabbi Akiva. Ihachi, this is so, meaning, or this is the Gemara saying that this would be its response. Ihachi mishchet nam hiloi nishchet. Well, then we would never allow you to ever shech the korban Pesach on Shabbos. Why? Maybe you would find out that the zevach would be puzzle. So nimtza mechalel as a Shabbos, my friend. Then you would have violated Shabbos retroactively on a level of the Araisa, because you shechted the korban and it turned out to be treif. It turned out to be puzzle. It turned out to be whatever it was. So you'd violate the level of the Araisa, and yet the Torah does obligate you to shech the korban Pesach on Shabbos. That is certainly what everybody agrees to. That is what we learned from the Gzer Shava b'Ma'adai. So Elahach Amar Le Beresha, says the Gemara. That second argument of maybe it'll turn out puzzle, that's what Rabbi Akiva said to Rabbi Eliezer at the beginning. Elaha Amar Le Bereisha. That's what he said at the beginning. Uparche, and he said, no, that's you refuted it, you rejected it. He said that's not true. No, because otherwise you'd never be able to offer a Korban Pesach at all. V'hadar Amar Lehach, and then he said his other argument, Demali Imdachu, that it's only once you have violated Shabbos for the Korban that you would have the permissibility of being able to do this for the Din D'Rabbanan. Says the Gemara, continuing. And Rabbi Akiva said back to Rabbi Eliezer, he said to him, the sprinkling of the ashes in the water of the paraduma, that would be a good that should be a good raya, that we don't allow this. And Rabbi Eliezer had said, no, I dafka think that you should do hazah. I think that would work. So Tanya, Amala Rabbi Eliezer says, Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Akiva, b'shchita hashavtani. You answered me with an argument from shchita. You said, if this is so then maybe shchita shouldn't be permissible on. The shchita of the korban shouldn't be permissible on Shabbos. That was his argument. Almost a reducted ad absurdum. That he wanted to say, is it possible that you would even say that shechita would be also according to that rationale? And then the Gemara says something very intense here, that Rabbi Eliezer said back to Rabbi Akiva, you made fun of me. You said, what about the din of shechita? So the version that we have in the Gemara is b'shechita tehemi tasar. His death will be with shechita, meaning Rabbi Akiva's death will be with shechita. And this is in the third person. He didn't want to say that you should die through shechita. The lashon that the Meiri has is b'shchita tehei mitascha, and then the Rishonim have a lot to say about whether or not this curse or potential curse of Rabbi Eliezer had an effect on Rabbi Akiva. Nevertheless, the relation between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Eliezer is an important one, as the Gemara is about to describe, because Rabbi Eliezer was one of Rabbi Akiva's rabbeim. So Amalai says, Rabbi, my teacher, Al tachpireni b'shas hadin. Don't push me away. Don't deny me b'shas hadin at this time of judgment, meaning when you're angry with me. Kach mikublani mimcha. I'm only saying what I'm saying because that's what I learned from you. That you had taught me that hashzah shvusi, that sprinkling the ashes of the paradum is a shvus, is an iser d'Rabbanan, ve'ena deichas Shabbos, and that it does not violate Shabbos. That you don't allow people to get the ashes of the paradum on Shabbos. Says the Gemara, and since he learned it himself, my time then why did Rabbi Eliezer then go back on it in our Mishnah? Amar Ula tells us, Rabbi Eliezer, when he taught this din, he was talking about Hazah the Truma Akmere. He was only talking about the Hazah that you would give to Aikon in order to be able to have Truma. The Truma Gufa Loidachya Shabbos, because eating Truma doesn't, or separating Truma, doesn't violate Shabbos, meaning you don't ever need to involve yourself with Truma on Shabbos. If you have it, you should use it. But if not, if you be Tameh, and you would need Hazah in order to be able to, you'd need Paraduma waters in order to be able to eat from the Truma, then it would not be necessary to violate the Siddur on Shabbos. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Akiva Nami, and Rabbi Akiva, when he responded to this, when he responded back to him, he says Hazah the Truma Oisvei. He was also talking about this case of Hazah of Truma, Shehi Mitzvah. Because the Hazah of Truma is for the sake of the mitzvah that the Kohen should eat the Truma. V'hi mishum shvus, and that's also Aser. It's also Aser. V'hu savar, and he held Hazah the Pesach Chamaisiva, and he thought that he was responding back to him for the Hazah of Korban Pesach. They should sprinkle the Efer Paraduma in order that somebody should be tar for Pesach. And then Rabbi is going to reject that, and Be'ezhem Yisbarach, we will continue with the end of Samach Tes Amud Aleph a little bit later today, and finish up Samach Tes Amud Beis. It is a long and involved sugya, Be'ezhem Yisbarach, to be continued.